Obviously, another really good team coming in here. This is we know that from playing them up there. Really good players. Richard and the staff have that group playing really well. Really home and road. It's really impressive. So need a good day of preparation here.
You've talked about playing DJ a little bit more off the ball and trying to take advantage of some of his skills in that way. How do you see him making that transition to having to learn a different spot than what you had intended in the preseason?
Well, I think he'll learn both spots and continue to learn both spots as we increase our offensive package. You're a little bit cautious as a coach. You don't want to throw too much at a guy who's still processing a lot as a freshman. But I think we'll play him at times. He may play the point, but we may play him off the ball even though he's playing the point. We'll see. I think it's something we could continue to do, and he's doing okay with it. I think it's a lot of information to learn as a freshman when you're learning multiple positions.
Does it help? He said that playing off the ball allows him to be a little more reactive instead of decision making. Does that, when you're a freshman trying to learn all this and it's coming at you fast, does that help take advantage of some more natural abilities?
Yeah, I think that's what he's seen and that's what we've seen. It might allow him to kind of think a little bit less and just kind of play off of instincts, and I think that is a reason for that. And he's when you're initiating our offense as a freshman as well as being asked to do other things, it can be a lot. So we'll see how that continues to look.
As you look for more offensively and you look for guys to step up and do some different things, what's your comfort with Dwayne handling the ball, Dwayne possibly running the point? Is that something that's on the table?
He's a really good ball handler. I'd like to see him facilitate a little bit more at times. But he's a really good ball handler. I trust him with the ball. His his assists haven't been high. His turnovers also have not been high. So certainly he's a guy that we could see kind of playing with DJ as a primary ball handler. Both those guys kind of switching back between the one and the two.
DJ and Caleb were both talking a little bit about. I thought it was a little interesting talking about their connectivity as a team and team chemistry, and that being something that's been talked about as maybe being not there as much as it needed to be in the past month. Is that been apparent to you? I don't know if it's just been a steady decline, if that's something that maybe you saw issues earlier in the year.
Is that what they said you're saying?
Yeah, they had said that just in the past month or so, maybe once the losing sort of started, that you could see more. And they mentioned after the Penn State game that was one of the things that they had talked about.
Yeah, no, that would be more their assessment. It's not been anything I have observed. That might be more kind of their observations. When you struggle, you kind of look for things. That may be their way of kind of looking for things. I think we've there's a couple issues that we've looked at. One being just our overall lack of toughness. We just have to play tougher, be tougher as a group, and how that's related, I'm not sure, but that may be some good observations on their part.
Did you have, when you talked about needing to be tougher, were you a tough team this year?
Yeah, good question. I think that I'm not sure that got really challenged a whole lot in the non-conference. I really don't. It challenged enough where we could say definitively yes. I think that's a valid point. That I'm not sure that that's ever been said. We just didn't get tested in that way. We didn't get tested on the road in that way. We didn't get tested on neutral situations in that. As soon as we got into Big Ten play, we've gotten tested in it for sure.
Chris, on the whole toughness quotient seems to be the topic here. Mental versus physical. I think most people, fans see it and they think that's a physical thing.
Yeah.
But when you're talking toughness, does it start with mental? Is it mostly mental and it kind of feeds into the physical?
I think it's a lot of both. I think we've struggled in both areas right now. The ability to play physical and whether that's sustain a block out or get a challenged rebound. Some of it is, a younger team lacking some physical strength or maybe overall size. But more than anything, it's been, I just think we are lacking in really both areas. A resilient mindset that you need, which is what you're talking about, the mental approach, the ability to move on to the next play. make the next right play and do it with a toughness about you. And certainly there have been physical, ability to sustain an effort, to play physical, to finish through contact, all the things that we have to improve in.
I assume you've been through something similar to this in all your journeys and travels, but once that starts to get away from you, this toughness issue, how hard is that to get back? I mean, you can't just tell guys be tougher. What do you?
Yeah.
I know it's a practice issue, but
Yeah, I think it's really the only way I think you get tougher is you do tough things on a regular basis, and some groups are different, right? Some groups are older, so they're and some groups you just naturally have some tougher and tougher minded guys. You know, I think again, I'm not sure that's ever. I think that's still a question that we have to answer. I'm not sure it was answered early, but right now it's certainly a question that's in front of us that we've not answered in a positive way.
are guys competitive enough? That's toughness too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we've got a competitive group. I do.
Okay.
I think we've got a competitive group. What I've got to do as a coach is honestly figure out who our toughest guys are and roll with those, and the other ones are going to have to, learn and practice before they can play.
Coach, when you're in a stretch like this and you've lost 5 of 6, how do you balance? Nobody likes losing. It's hard to be in a good mood when you're losing, like personal life, professional life, bringing a positive attitude back to practice and trying to promote that. How has that gone?
Well, I think that's one of the greatest challenges for a coach and a coaching staff in this stretch. I mean, it's a significant challenge. I mean, you go through a stretch like this and no one's happy. Everyone's in a rough place. Coaches first and foremost. I think you really try to close ranks and stay in the day-to-day as much as possible. You try not to be influenced by anything, and it's just you close your circle even tighter. You figure out how to fix whatever issues that you deem or that we deem ails us right now that we've identified. You close ranks and you get to work and you try to fix them, and don't really pay any attention to anything else. And that's really what we've tried to do. We'll see if that pays dividends.
Coach, Caleb's your best player, that's obvious. And then DJ, we can make a case that he might be the most talented player on this team. When you have those two pieces who can do so much for your team, and they're so different as far as maybe the ways they can affect the game as a coach, like, is it almost like round hole, square peg kind of thing, trying to figure out how you can get those two to mesh?
Well, I think it takes some time. It takes playing together. I think both those guys are gifted in a lot of ways. They both have to give us more in a lot of ways, as do other guys. But yeah, I think it's you got one who's kind of a veteran and one who's younger and trying to find his way a little bit. One's got to get the ball thrown to him. The other one kind of has the ball in his hands. So it's a different dynamic. I think those two guys have had some good chemistry and throughout the season, and I hope that'll continue to be the case.
Have you had that before with like a big and a guard, where like one's clearly like in the fast break they're amazing, but then with bigs it's obviously more of a half court game?
Yeah. I think if you're asking, our team necessarily is those guys are different maybe in terms of their strengths. I don't know that I've had a team where it's been maybe that different, but we've kind of established how we want to play and try to play through our interior as much as possible, and yet at the other time, Caleb obviously can't do it on his own in this league. It's the best set of 5 men in any league I've ever seen. It's not even close, and it's really been no comparison. There was never, in any of the leagues I've been a part of, both as an assistant or head coach, it's never been close, the number of 5 men that are this talented, this good, this dominant. A lot of future NBA players with great traditional size, 5-man size. So in Caleb's case, if he doesn't bring it with incredible energy, he's going against one of the best players at his position really in the country. When you go down the line and you look at the line of big kids in our league.
Chris, TJ mentioned when he was talking about staying connected and how he didn't feel the team wasn't as connected, like Colin mentioned, and you've mentioned being connected on the floor quite a bit. And noticed past few years your teams have been very connected. It seems like they know their roles and each guy out when they're on the floor. What does that mean necessarily to be connected? And when you're lacking it, what does that entail?
Yeah, I think it's a group that talks, communicates. Guys can look at it and, players probably think connected teams are the teams that, hang out all the time together. I think it's a group that really talks and communicates. You can hear them in practice. There is a level of trust. Some of that is playing together, and some of that is going through stretches and see how we come through some of these stretches. I think that builds connectivity if you have a group who's really committed to it.
Penn State game seemed to be the first 10 minutes, you had 3 baskets, and 2 of those were early on the fast break. So in the entire first 10 minutes, you converted 1 play in the half court for a basket. It was a 3-pointer perhaps. What can you do to improve that conversion rate? I'm sure this is something you guys talk about around the clock, because the Big Ten's a half court game. You don't get a lot of fast break opportunities, but what are teams taking away, and what can you do to get back to being more efficient in that?
Well, we had some critical turnovers there early, and I think a lot of it comes back to that. I think we had some the ball in places where we wanted it to be, and we just didn't take care of it enough collectively. So I think it begins right there, Steve.
And, Minnesota, the first game, obviously you had Marcus Carr, Daniel Turu. They each played pretty well, and each kind of present their own individual challenges, I think, for an opposing defense. Just what are you looking at with what they've done in the 6 weeks that you played them, or 5 weeks, and how they've kind of grown, and what's different about that match?
Yeah, they've really had fantastic Big Ten seasons. If you look at their numbers, they're off the charts for both those guys. They are certainly playing at all Big Ten caliber level, both guys, and they've got other really good players. Gabe Kauscher's a really good player. They've got a number of guys, but they're very different than they were last year. They had some guys kind of waiting in the wings and stepping into huge roles. Daniel being one, and certainly Marcus sitting out. So they've had a great stretch. I think we knew they were a good team when we played them, and it's really as it's played out, I think people have realized they're a good team.
We talked about toughness. Was there a teaching, coaching moment for you in the Stevens dunk with 2.5 minutes to go?
I think that's you try not to make too much of those kind of moments. We're just, as much as possible, trying to compete through the end of the game. I would certainly like to see us do that at a higher level than what we did, without having some of the things maybe you saw in a game last night. Because there's a fine line there in situations like that.
You've had enough success at this and had enough struggles to know what differentiates good teams from bad teams. Is, in your mind, the answer to how you've gone from 9-0 and ranked second to unranked and losers of 5 out of 6, is it more a complex answer, multi-level, or is it a pretty simple answer in your mind?
No, I think there are maybe multiple things and reasons that we would look at it. One being you're playing against another opponent who's pretty good in that stretch. But a lot of it goes to we have to play tougher and smarter. Bottom line, we just have got to find a way to play tougher and smarter. And I think that may seem like an oversimplification, but there's a lot that goes into that.
People are they know about the suspensions. They're going to hear team meeting, clear the air, Penn State. They're going to hear you talk about toughness and connectivity. And they're going to say, are you battling agendas on this team? You feel like your team's still listening to you? Like, are you guys, coming apart at the seams? Like, are you guys, what people will assume from that?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a team meeting after Penn State. I'm not sure where that came from. We just had a normal kind of, it was maybe a little longer, but we just had a normal post-game kind of conversation that we've had in a number of, I don't know why there was, if there was much made of it, I don't know why there was. It's just, we were trying to talk through some things. I think we'll see how we come out of this. And I understand people looking and searching for things. The bottom line is we'll see how we come out of this with, and I think that'll determine a lot in terms of who we are as a group and what we're trying to be.
Those of us who are blessed with kids know they can sometimes put things in perspective. Does Nora understand that Dad's team is, things are different for Dad's team now than when you were 9-0? And I'm just curious to know if she said anything that you went, like dads often do. Whew, okay, that puts it in perspective.
Yeah, you try not to put a whole lot on your kids in this profession. So, we try to shield her as much as possible, but yeah, she feels it. She feels it like a 9-year-old.
Forgot to ask you after the game, but Kyle took a couple of tough falls and he didn't play quite as much. I know Penn State's size affects him, but did he come through that game okay?
He did. He is 3 weeks into a 6-week still battling fatigue part of his surgery. So there is some limitations that he's still going through with practice.
Okay.
And that's really what has played into some of those decisions. It's unfortunate for him. He still does feel it. I think he's getting a little bit better, but as they reminded me, he will not feel his normal self until 6 weeks from the date of surgery.
And Alonzo's back to full practice and everything, or how is he progressing from what he had done last week?
He still had some soreness, but he's been able to practice.
And is Justin starting to carve out a little bit of a role? Is that a reflection of not having Zoe, so Justin's playing a few more minutes? But it seems
No,
like
I've liked his attitude. I've liked his attitude and his approach, and I think he just needs to keep himself ready. He's been really active and involved, and he's gotten some of his strength back too from a really tough off season.
I just wanted to ask, when you say we'll see when we come out of this, like when I just look at the schedule, you have a home game against Minnesota, then you go to Northwestern, then home against Indiana. It seems like a stretch that you might be able to take advantage of, just because we've seen what the home road splits are in the Big Ten. As a coach, are you seeing this as an opportunity?
Yeah, I'd never look that far into the schedule or assume anything in this. The league's too good. The league's too good. I think a couple road teams won last night. The league's too good. So I think our focus really is just on today. We're not projecting anything beyond that. Just like we never have. It's really on how do we fix some of these things that have been ailing us.
Earlier in the year, your guys' defensive stats were really good as a team, and you were really upset about the effort at Penn State. When you watched the film from that game, what did you see defensively that really irritated you or opened your eyes?
Yeah, it just wasn't good enough. It's my fault and our players' fault. So that just begins with me. It just wasn't good enough.
Last toughness question, how tough were the guys that you lost last year?
Well, they were older and grizzled and kind of had been through it. And you got a guy like Keyshawn Woods who he came to Ohio State because he wanted to get to the NCAA tournament. So, he played like a fifth-year senior with just one agenda on his mind. And we've got some tough kids. I just think collectively we've got to maybe I've got to do a better job of putting them on the floor more together, and we've got to get more out of other guys in that area.
But you missed those two guys. Maybe more than you thought in terms of that influence?
I think the experience, the idea of being resilient. CJ Jackson was able to sustain an effort as a competitor. He was never physically really tough, but he was able to sustain an effort. I just think you have two guys that have played a lot of college basketball in the backcourt, and that's significant. And I think Musa. One thing about Musa will be redshirting. I'm glad I thought about him when you talk about toughness. He will be redshirting, and he will be having surgery on Friday for an ankle. It's just he'll be back in time for a good off season, but it's a reconstructive ankle surgery.
Okay.
All right, guys.